Hello, welcome to Senior Savvy. I'm Jane Wells, your host for today's show. Senior Savvy is brought to you by the Oshkosh Senior Center, where it's our mission to enrich the quality of life for adults ages 50 and older. And I sure hope you all have June 21st marked on your calendar, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later, but it's a special event we have coming up at the Senior Center that I hope you'll be able to join us for. So, as we get older and are well developed into our habits, one habit we might need to change is our salt habit. I don't know about you, but oftentimes at the table it's past the salt and pepper and we kind of just sprinkle that everywhere. Well, and now we know that too much salt can lead to hypertension, and too much salt can help us, we retain water when we eat too much salt. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some alternatives to salt, and I am thrilled to have my guest with me today. My guest is Rebecca Aldag. Hi, Rebecca.
Well, hi, Jane. Thank you so much for having me
Well,
today.
thank you for coming. And you are a certified nutritionist.
Yes, I am.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? First, I got to say, you and I met years ago popping popcorn at Coolidge Elementary because both our girls were there. And so that was kind of a neat way to spark up. And here we are now.
And now they're in high school.
I know.
Imagine that. Well, I'll give you a little bit of my background. I am a board-certified nutritionist. I also have a Master of Science degree in herbal medicine. And I have a practice in Neenah where I do use those modalities as well as health coaching, one-on-one with clients, and then I also do a corporate wellness program. And my story really started in my first career. I worked for a Fortune 100 pharmaceutical company, and it was a great job, although it was very, very stressful. So way back when, 25 years ago or so, I was suffering from a lot of the physical aspects of a highly stressful environment. So I had eczema up and down my arms that I just couldn't get rid of. I would get like 3 to 5 upper respiratory viruses every year. I had seasonal allergies, and I was really, really suffering. So what I did, I elicited the help of a nutritionist, and it was at that point where I found how changing up my diet and then also adding dietary supplements and herbs really made a difference in my body.
It's amazing how our bodies manifest what's all going on inside,
Yes,
isn't
they
it?
do.
If
Yes,
you
they
ignore it,
do.
it will pop out somewhere in some way
Yeah.
that just screams for attention.
Yeah, so after experiencing that firsthand in my body, it just became a way of life for me. And I was fortunate enough to live in the Washington, D.C. area, and that's where I attended graduate school at the Maryland University of Integrative Health and attained my Master of Science degree in herbal medicine.
And this was quite some time ago, so for back then, that really had to be cutting edge and considered a little bit out there.
It still to this day is the only school in this country that's accredited to confer that type of degree. So I feel it's a pretty special thing, and I am the only one in this state with that so far.
Congratulations, that's pretty neat.
Thank you.
Very cool. So I kind of came to you with this dilemma that people have come to me about, now that they're trying to cut a little bit of salt out of their diet, food doesn't taste very good, or they're not, you get used to that salt and you kind of crave it, and it just doesn't taste right without it. So you have tons of ideas today of how to spice up the food, how to put some flavor and whatnot back into it.
I sure do. And the first thing we're going to talk about is how we can use culinary spices to liven up our food. We don't necessarily need salt if we're using culinary spices. And what I love about the culinary spices is that these spices are actually herbs. So it's an opportunity for us to get a little bit of herbal medicine into our diet on a daily basis. So here's what I do, and I will tell you, everything I do, it's super simple, super quick, because I don't like to mess around in the kitchen too long. And I like things to be affordable too. So what I do, I go to my grocery store and look in the bulk bins of spices. And from there, I'll select a couple different spices. Here I have oregano, and this amount of oregano, when you're taking it from the spice bin, is pennies to purchase.
As opposed to a jar of it, and then how long does the jar last?
Exactly.
And how, if I'm only one or two people.
Investment, and you usually end up buying it for one recipe, and then it sits there. So I go to the spice bin. I know the spices are pretty fresh. I can actually open the little bin and take a whiff, and really we should expect that it smells very aromatic. Like if we're looking at mint, it should smell like mint, and if it doesn't, I would probably pass on that because that means it's maybe a little old.
Okay.
So for today I have the oregano. I also chose basil. Yum, yum, yum. And then I chose rosemary. And what I would do with the rosemary, I would probably grind this up a little bit in a coffee grinder. I buy a real inexpensive coffee grinder, and I reserve it for grinding up my spices and other things that I put in my food. So I would take these 3 spices, and again, you could do any ones that you like. Is there a particular spice that you like? Like sage, thyme, anything, and throw it in there, whatever.
Right, exactly.
Whatever you like and don't like. So then I put it all in a bowl, and then I purchased these little glass containers. And this is a glass shaker container. It's got the little shaker side and then the wide mouth side.
Okay.
And I will, after I mix everything in a bowl, I'll take a wider mouth funnel and place that on top, and then simply pour the spice into my little shaker container. And then the shaker container sits next to my stovetop. So as I'm cooking, I'm constantly, you know, it's so accessible. It's like I can't not use it. It's right there for me. So I'm constantly flavoring my food this way. The value, so I said we're now eating our herbs as food every day, and the value in the culinary spices is that they contain very high amounts of antioxidants.
Yeah, you had shared that with me about it's not just for flavoring, but there's actually significant health benefits to doing this and to getting these into your diet. So that's amazing. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So why do we want to have antioxidants in our food on a daily basis? Well, antioxidants scavenge free radicals. And free radicals are generated a number of ways, but one way is through inflammation. Inflammation forms the basis of many chronic diseases. So it actually, in essence, is helping us to manage that inflammation. So you can start to see how important these culinary herbs become. Especially rosemary contains something called rosmarinic acid, which is like a super duper antioxidant. So this, if you like rosemary, this is a great one to include on a daily basis. So we have the culinary spice jar. And what,
sorry, I have one more question about the rosemary. About how much would you need to consume in a day to have the benefits of it?
I really don't measure specific doses. What I do is just use it freely as I'm cooking. So I think that way I get a very nice dose, and I'm not stressing myself out trying to make sure I'm getting this and that. You know, it's just part of the way I cook things on a daily basis.
And I do also want to just add that for that particular spice jar, if you added up the value of all of those, you're under $1.
Under $1
to fill that spice jar.
Yes.
And
it's
cheap and easy.
And they're fresh spices. So when you run out, you just go back to the bulk bin and get more.
Exactly.
We can do the same thing with what I call my winter spices. And that, what I have in this container that I prepared at home is ground cinnamon, ground clove, and ground cardamom. Now I like to reach for this spice jar in the winter because I tend to run really cold. So all of these spices are very warming and stimulating. So I'll use that in my cooking. But there's more to the spices than just being warming and stimulating.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, they're also digestive stimulants. So these particular spices have very aromatic properties. Like you can smell and go, woo. And what that does, it helps us with digesting food.
So how does smelling them help us to digest?
Not smelling, but as they go into our body,
Okay.
It helps the digestive system kick into gear. So if our digestion is a little sluggish, these are excellent spices to have on hand. Ground cinnamon, ground clove, and ground cardamom.
Now, do you also find those in the bulk area?
Absolutely.
Or,
Absolutely.
That's good to know. And you know, we've talked about this. You can pay 98 cents for a jar of cinnamon, or you can pay $7 or $8 for a jar of cinnamon. And is there a difference between them?
There is a difference, and usually what you're going to find in the bulk bins are the higher quality cinnamon. There's a couple different species. So I would be okay with what I found in the bulk bin. If it smelled good like cinnamon, I would probably be okay with that. If we're using cinnamon medicinally, like in support of blood sugar, you know, there's a lot of literature that says blood sugar helps, or cinnamon helps support blood sugar levels, then we would be a little more careful with the species.
Okay.
We would want to do the ones that are in the scientific literature. But for our purpose here in the shaker,
Sure.
we'll just use what's in the bulk bin.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I have one more spice here. This is my very favorite one, and I have it in one of my little jelly jars from home. This is called turmeric, or turmeric. You can pronounce it either way. Again, you can find this in the bulk bin.
Can I just see that? I'm going to take a peek at it
it's
inside.
such a lovely spice. It's very neutral, and it is an outstanding anti-inflammatory. So a lot of people will use it to support joint pain. You can actually take it. I tend to prefer to cook with it.
Sure.
So I will throw it in a lot of meat dishes I'm preparing. I like it more with beef, but you could use it with chicken too. And if you'll notice, it's a very vibrant color.
It really is.
So it will color your food.
Okay.
And your skin.
And your skin.
And your skin. But it's just a fantastic herb. It's also been shown to have anti-cancer properties. So this has been studied, and there's a lot that's been written about that.
That's amazing. You know, you talk about the cinnamon and you talk about the turmeric and all the health benefits of that, and it's merely from just using something other than salt for our food.
Yeah.
It's
So again,
amazing.
this is a way to get herbs into your diet on
Sure.
a daily basis.
Sure. Fantastic. And they all smell so good too. I don't,
Yes,
you know,
they do.
it is. All right, so again, go to your bulk spices, smell them. If you can't smell them, pass on them, but
pass
you know,
on
they
'em.
should be very fragrant. And so go through one more time. So the culinary blend,
The culinary blend,
the benefits of that are,
antioxidants.
Okay.
And we want to quench those free radicals hanging out that we get through inflammation in the body.
yep, and the cinnamon, clove, and
Cardamom.
Cardamom.
That is warming
Yep.
and
Digestive.
stimulating to the body. So we use it as
Exactly.
a digestive stimulant. It will
Okay.
actually help our digestive system
Right.
function. It supports digestion. Let me
wonderful.
Put it that way.
And lastly, real quick, the turmeric.
Turmeric is anti-inflammatory, great to support joint pain. It also has been shown to have anti-cancer properties.
Wonderful. All right, so the other thing you and I have touched base on is oils, and I'm pretty naive about them. I thought canola oil was the one to get
Yeah.
and the great one, but
It can be very, very confusing. So
Yes.
most of us have been told to use canola oil, or there's a few other vegetable oils, maybe sunflower, safflower. Those oils are primarily polyunsaturated
Okay.
oils. Polyunsaturated oils are not very stable, so we never want to use them for high heat cooking.
Okay.
And I actually stay away from them with even sauteing. So those oils, when they're exposed to high heat, they tend to fall apart
Okay.
and transfigure, so they actually become slightly different molecules
Okay.
that are inflammatory to
Okay.
our system.
Oh.
So we want to avoid that.
Right. So what would you use instead?
What I would use instead for high heat cooking is coconut oil.
Okay.
It's one of my favorites, but not just any coconut oil.
Okay.
What we want to make sure we purchase is unrefined, cold pressed.
Okay.
If we can get it organic. Most that are unrefined and cold pressed are going to be organic. And extra virgin. And this container, you see all of that verbiage on the label,
Okay.
so we know we've selected a good one.
And can you find that at your common grocery store?
You can find this at all of the grocery stores. This
Excellent.
is kind of a cool container, a newer one. There's others that are more barrel shaped.
Okay.
So you'll find it usually in the natural food section
Okay.
of your local grocery store. Now what I love about coconut oil, it's primarily saturated fats, but we don't have to be afraid of this saturated
Okay.
fat because this type contains medium chain triglycerides, and we're going
Okay.
to burn that as fuel in our body. It's not going to land on our hips. So that's
There
the
we
beauty
go.
of coconut oil.
Exactly.
Coconut oil, because it's primarily saturated fat, can withstand high heat cooking. So
Okay.
this is the oil that we want to use for sauteing and other types of high heat cooking. It's a very, very stable.
Awesome.
And you'll notice that if it's cold or in the refrigerator, it's solid. When it comes to room temp, like a day like today, it gets more liquidy, and that is just the nature of saturated fats.
All right, we have just a couple minutes left,
Sure.
but I know we for sure want to talk about olive oil,
Olive
and you have
oil.
an awesome recipe for a summer
Yes,
dressing.
I do. So olive oil,
Yep.
primarily monounsaturated fat.
Okay.
Very healthy oil. Dr. Weil, if you have ever
Sure.
heard of him,
Yes.
this is a big one in the Mediterranean diet. So it's very heart healthy.
Okay.
However, because it's monounsaturated, again, it's not a very stable type of fat, so we don't want to do high heat cooking
Okay.
with this, but we do want to use it in salad dressings
Sure.
and marinades. And do we have time for me to show the salad dressing?
Real quick, yes.
Okay, real quick. So this is what I do. Again, another jelly jar from home, and you're going to see the recipe, but I'm going to show you my quick version of it.
Yep.
We've got Dijon mustard, and we're going to take our apple cider vinegar, if I can get the lid up. And you could use any type of vinegar. You could use red wine
Sure.
or balsamic. We're going to put a couple tablespoons of that in. And then we're going to top it off with olive oil, our heart healthy olive oil, and maybe we'll put a quarter to a third of a cup. And you could also add some of these culinary spices.
Sure.
Would be
I
a
bet that would be
wonderful
wonderful.
addition. Shallot chopped up
Ah.
is yummy. And if you want to sweeten it, you can add honey for a
Wonderful.
sweeter dressing version, or maple syrup. You're just going to shake it like this.
Fantastic.
Shake, shake, shake. The Dijon mustard emulsifies the oil and vinegar, and you end up with a dressing. You could use a little mayonnaise to make it more
Sure.
creamy. This will store in your fridge for about 3 days.
And you know what? And you can make a lot, or you can make a little, depending on
can.
if it's just you or if it's somebody
Yeah,
else.
So
And-
this would probably be perfect for 1 or 2 people. One person, it would last you a couple of days,
Sure,
definitely.
exactly. Wonderful. And we could probably do a whole show on apple cider
we
vinegar,
could.
but that's a different topic. All right. So the salad dressing, easy, convenient, fast, just like that, and yet all healthy for you.
Yes, all
Wonderful.
very, very healthy. You won't go back to jarred dressing after this.
Wonderful. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Rebecca's going to make us a smoothie, perfect for summertime. So join us.
Hi, I'm Mayor Burktower, and I'm asking for your help. The city has several boards and commissions that play important roles in just about every aspect of local government. Whether it's the Parks Board or the Landmarks Commission, these and other boards act as a forum for citizens to address their concerns and questions about Oshkosh city government. The boards also provide members the opportunity to make positive suggestions to the council or city staff to move the city forward. So here's where we need your help. For our city to work effectively, we need active citizen participation. Many of our boards and commissions currently need members. We're asking for just a few hours of your time each month to serve on one of our boards or commissions and help to ensure a strong democratic process. So please consider serving on a city board or commission. For an application, visit the city website, stop by the city manager's office in City Hall, or call 236-5000. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to your possible involvement.
Welcome back. Well, now, you know, on these dog days of summer when it gets really hot, finally, how wonderful is it to just have a refreshing drink, especially a cold one from the blender. And so Rebecca's going to share with us her summer smoothie recipe. And it has a lot of different things in it that, in all honesty, I will be new to. So at least to grinding up in a smoothie. So wonderful.
Yeah, so we are going to start with our base, and our base can be coconut milk, almond milk, rice milk,
Okay.
coconut water, or just plain water. And I use the rule of thirds, so I put about a third of what I'm going to make in terms of liquid volume
Okay.
in the bottom.
And again, coconut milk, you can find that in the grocery store,
This-
in the
it's
dairy?
in every grocery store,
Excellent.
and it's usually in the dairy section, sometimes in the natural
Okay.
food section of the grocery store. Then we're going to put a leafy green on top of that, and today I have baby spinach. You could purchase kale,
Sure.
pull kale out of your garden.
Right.
You have a lot of options for leafy greens. My only rule is that you vary your greens so you're not having the same green
Sure.
day after day. So we're going to put roughly about a third. Look at all of
Look at
that
that.
goes in here. Would you ever eat that at one sitting? Maybe not.
Right.
Maybe.
I don't, with that salad dressing, that's got potential.
That's right. Salad dressing, maybe. And I like to give it a quick pre-blend before I start the regular blending. Okay, that's our quick pre-blend. And then what we are going to add on top of that are berries. And because we're going into summer, I actually have fresh berries today.
Yay.
Otherwise, I would use frozen berries.
Okay.
And I made a little mix of strawberries and blueberries in here. But you can find wonderful berry mixes in your frozen section
Sure.
of your grocery store. So again, about 1/3. Oops, gotcha.
Hey, looks great.
And then the secret ingredient to make this more creamy is either half an avocado or half of a banana.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm going to do the avocado today, and how I like to prepare the avocado is to slice it long ways or lengthwise down the middle, and then pull it apart.
Oh, easy.
And I can just squeeze out the contents directly into my blender.
So when you're selecting an avocado, you want one that is somewhat ripe, right? So a little bit soft
Yes,
to
it
the
should
touch.
be a little bit soft, and the skin should look a little bit brown too.
Okay.
Not too soft though.
Will they ripen on your counter?
They will.
Okay.
They'll ripen rapidly, so you have to pay attention to them.
All right.
I also have today, I pre-ground this earlier, but this is flax seed. Flax seed you want to grind immediately before you use it because
Okay.
again, this is not a stable oil in here, so it'll start to break down pretty quickly. Also, you don't want to put whole flaxseed in your smoothie because then you won't release the oils and get the full benefit of the flaxseed. You will still get fiber,
Sure.
but not the full benefit of
So
the
is
flaxseed.
flaxseed mostly for fiber benefit?
Flaxseed actually contains a precursor to omega-3
Okay.
oil, so we convert it to omega-3 in
Okay.
the body. So
Wonderful.
it's another way to get those omega-3s.
Sure, sure. All right, are you going to blend this all
I'm
up?
ready.
All right.
am going to grab some ice.
Wonderful. So
of my
the
little
spinach that's in there and the avocado, you know, it'd be really easy to go, blah! But they're not very strong in flavor. But
No,
they're
it's
strong
pretty
in
mild
nutrient
flavor.
value, so you get wonderful bang without a whole lot of,
Absolutely.
you get your flavors from the berries and the milk and things like that.
Absolutely. So we're going to blend for about
All
20
right.
seconds. It's going to be loud, so I won't talk. And we're done.
Awesome. It's funny how it changed from that bright green to
It's
now like a chocolate.
Yeah, a lighter. It's from
Sure.
the berries.
Yes.
The more used to the smoothies you get, you can add more greens, less berries.
Sure, sure.
If you're starting out
Wonderful.
with your kids, you want to have more berries.
Yes,
less
exactly.
berries.
Exactly.
So again, I use
Wonderful.
my handy dandy mason jar. And the reason I do this is so that I can bring it with me. So now it's a mobile smoothie. And I can just put the cap on
Sure,
and
sure.
head out the door.
And again, you know, if you're only one person, this is not a big deal to do. It's easy enough to whip up a smoothie for one, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right.
Or you can make the full smoothie and it will store in the refrigerator
Okay.
for about a day,
Okay.
24 hours.
Sure.
So you can make one and have it the next day also. And
Cheers.
there you go. Cheers. What do you think?
It's good. Actually, I can taste the berries.
One
That's what I
thing
can taste.
we could have added is a little bit
Yummy.
of protein powder too, if you want to get more protein into your system.
Okay.
And I tend to go with the plant-based protein powders.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just an example of a pea
Sure.
protein powder, but that usually they give you about 15 grams of protein. So
it's okay to do the protein and the flaxseed all in the same thing,
absolutely,
and your greens
they
and your
blend up
berries
very
and,
nicely.
and all of that. How wonderful! And I like the ice in it too because it does add a little bit of.
It's a cool summer smoothie.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Well, this is wonderful. And drinking out of a big mason jar is just kind of cool, isn't it?
It's all about convenience. Now it's a great
Yep.
time to grab the mason jars and jelly jars from
Yes.
your local store because
Right.
they'll all be out. We're coming into our berry season
Exactly.
and preserving. So
Wonderful. This would be a great thing to have on June 21st because you know why?
yes. Why is that?
We are doing
What is
our
happening?
Night on the River at the Senior Center. And last year was our first time doing it. What we wanted to do was take advantage of the longest day of daylight. And and we have such a beautiful location on the river, so we are now doing an event called Night on the River. And we have pontoon boat rides and a band playing, the jammers come in and play. We have campfires because people like to roast marshmallows and cook s'mores and excuse me. It's just a really cool event, and this year's special is we are going to be having the friends are going to be grilling out as well. So last year was our first year doing it, and this year we had added a few more components. And guess what? The price tag on all of this? Free. Can't get much better than that. You do have to pay for your food, but the rest of it is all free. So June 21st, it is a Saturday this year. And it runs from 5:30 until 8:30 at the Oshkosh Senior Center South Building. So you'll see us all out on the lawn by the water. We have a scavenger hunt on the trail. It's just a really neat event. So clear your calendars and come on down and check us out. All right, we have a few other things going on at the Senior Center over the summer. If you enjoy riding bikes, we have a group that does summer bike rides, and they head out on every Thursday, and they have different destinations set, and you can find those in our newsletter. They ride about 10 to 20 miles per outing. You don't have to be a supreme biker. I think they average about 10 miles per hour. Easy pace, anyone is welcome. They typically stop for lunch along the way, which is kind of cool. And they, like I said, they go every Thursday morning. And check our newsletter for the specifics in terms of where you should be meeting. And we just ask that you have a helmet and you gotta sign a little waiver for us. That's great. So the summer bike rides are on Thursday. On Friday, June 20th, we have Senior Safety at the Senior Center, and this will be presented by John Holland. He is the Public Education Specialist with the Oshkosh Fire Department. Learn tips on how you can stay safe, some fire prevention, fire safety, things you should have in place just to, if there were an emergency, what you should do. And that is sponsored by Lutheran Homes of Oshkosh and the Valley VNA. And we have our ever-famous summer games coming up June 23rd, 24th, and 25th. They are open to anybody ages 50 and older. Registration deadline, now listen, is Tuesday, June 17th. Tuesday, June 17th. You have to register for these games by that time. You cannot come to the games on site and register there. So the forms are available at both the north and the south buildings. And just in terms of events, horseshoes, bocce ball, sheephead, cribbage, kings in the corner, ladder golf, and a whole lot more. So those are the senior games, the summer games, June 23rd, 24th, and 25th. But you have to register by Tuesday, June 17th. Let's see. And lastly, on Thursdays, the last Thursday of the month, we have grilling out, and that will happen throughout the summer. So that is a meal that we cook at the center, and anybody is welcome to come. We start serving at 11:30 until we run out, or 12:30, whichever comes first, and that's typically served out of the north building. Everyone is welcome, and we just accept donations. So if you can give a little more, please do. If you give a little less, that's fine too. So grilling out. Lots of things happening at the Oshkosh Senior Center. Please check out our current newsletter and see what's happening, and we hope to see you there. Thanks for watching Senior Savvy.